black metal. What would you say if I offered that genre concept to you? Would you perhaps think it is violently satanic black metal, something that considers itself so evil that it is black metal, like it is over-the-top, evil, satanic, dark, etc.? Is it something that is just so cruel and messed up that nihilism and darkness pervade within it? Well, maybe, but that's not what we're talking about here. Black metal, as a humorous term, is the best way one could casually describe Zeal and Ardor, the project of Manuel Gagnon, a gentleman currently residing in New York City and creating some fantastically transcendent music that you should pay attention to. Now, you know the concept for this album is interesting because in an interview with Noisy, Manuel explained that he came up with it via 4chan. Now, you know anything dealing with 4chan is bound to be weird, bound to be bizarre, and bound to be some form wacky. And that's certainly what happened here. And it's fantastic. Manuel said that he would spend frequent amounts of time in the music board of 4chan and ask people to give him two unlikely genres to try and put together into something cohesive in the span of about a half hour. He enjoyed challenging himself with these musical experimentations, and then he got a request that, well, shaped Zeal and Ardor into what it is today. He had a previous musical project that he still does work with, that being Bird Mask, but Zeal and Ardor is his current muse. Someone suggested, pardon the language, that he combine nigger music and black metal. Now that indeed sounds quite the challenge, and yes, that was the exact phrasing. Now, lesser men may have perhaps cowered away at such a concept, but Manuel instead decided to go full bore, and instead of just fucking around a little bit, decided to turn it into a thematic concept, and thus we have Devil Is Fine, the newest record from Zeal and Ardor, which is just this man, Manuel, but he seeks to perhaps turn it into a live show one day, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So what is Devil Is Fine? What is Zeal and Ardor? What is this black metal? Well, it is sort of what it sounds like, but better. It takes the concept of old Negro spirituals, say from slavery times, you know, the chants, the sayings, the incantations, the things that oftentimes slaves would recite to give themselves strength, power, and unity to overcome the hardships they were facing. It was often folk songs, religious, etc. Oftentimes, especially it was religious, asking God to grant them the strength to persevere, and perhaps to one day gain freedom. It was all about breaking the bonds, breaking the giving me the strength and perseverance to continue on, and so forth. But it always had some religious connotation because they believed God would one day deliver them. Now, of course, we could go into the fact that though they were free from slavery and we had the whole civil rights mess, the entire African American race is still oppressed, but that's not what we're getting into here. That's political, and that's going to start firing me up. But what we're talking about here is a fantastic inversion of this concept. Like I said, these spirituals, these hymns, these incantations, these songs were often very religious. And this takes that and turns it on its head, and makes it all about Satan, makes it all about the devil. That's why the devil is fine. And it is delivered in such a fantastic package. It combines elements of black metal. You're not going to have any face-pounding, crushing stuff here. You're not going to hear any Mayhem, Gorgoroth, Burzum, fucking Anal Nakrath, Gnaw Their Tongues kind of shit here. This isn't even like death metal scale. You're not going to feel any heaviness of like Opeth or anything here. This takes elements of black metal. The guitar tones, some of the drumming, and some of the vocal styles. A majority of the vocals delivered on this album, again, everything on this album is done by Manuel. There are usage of some samples, but by and large, this is all done by this one man. Mainly because a lot of people were like, wow, where did you get these samples? And then he kind of says, well, I did them. Because I don't know how you'd be able to find Negro spirituals that are talking about Satan instead of God. So he had to make them himself because obviously such a concept would be hard to find. And they are so well delivered. The black metal elements temper this music. Hell, I would even go so far as to say a popularly bashed black metal band like Cradle of Filth is heavier than this. So to give you an idea, this is not heavy at all. So if you're not really a metal kind of person, or perhaps you are and you're looking to dabble a little bit into black metal and pick up some of the elements and find out if you'd like a taste for it, maybe this is for you. I would definitely recommend this to anyone, especially fans of the weird and bizarre. But it's really interesting because the album, instead of aiming for musical cohesion, because as stated, you have elements of the Negro spirituals with the chanting, with the repetition, and with that folky, bluesy feeling, and then you have the elements of black metal, like I said, they're used with the guitar tones, with the occasional usage of harsh vocal. You have moments of pure, like, electronica, EDM, rave-sounding stuff. Now, normally, I would find these things utterly repulsive. But given that it was maybe a minute and a half on this album, it came out of nowhere, had its time left, and went back into another very almost spiritual feeling song, it was alright because it was a very welcome deviation from things. And that's what I like here. Manuel has stated that Zeal and Ardor, and especially Devil is Fine showing this, Zeal and Ardor seeks to create thematical cohesion between its offerings. Yes, it varies greatly in its execution. Like I said, there's moments of the spirituals, there's moments of black metal, there's this electronica moment, there's moments of noise, there are a few almost feeling down home, folky, bluesy tracks that you almost feel like you would hear sitting in a coffee shop in a rainy city. And there's all sorts of weird tinges and tweaks and bits here and there that really challenge the normal listen, because you'll hear it at first and think it's something completely different than what it is. So it's kind of genre salad in a way. Now, some people might be turned off by this. Myself, I was very attracted and very interested with it. And I thought, true, while there isn't necessarily musical cohesion between some of these tracks, thematically, they all fit together in this concept of a inverted, twisted, dark spiritual. It almost feels like some form of ritual on here, given the repetition and the authenticity of it. Because again, usually these things are meant to incite power, incite unity under God, the strength of God. But instead, this is invoking the power of the devil. And it feels fantastic. None of these songs overstay their welcome, and in fact, after you listen to it, you're going to find yourself perhaps wishing they were a little longer. But I would take something that was short but sweet over something that was far too long and overwrought. This album, more like an EP, is about 20-25 minutes, give or take. It won't take you long to listen to it. You won't be losing much by doing so, if you're unsure if you want to waste your time with it or something, but I assure you it would not be a waste. You wouldn't be losing much time on it, and I think you'd really like it, because it has a little something for everyone. Again, don't go into this expecting some very heavy metallic elements, because the metal is kind of downplayed. It's more of an accoutrement or a side dish to the spirituals and some of the electronic work. Some people are saying, I felt like this was an electronic album over being a metal album. Nah, the metal is quite present on songs like Children's Spiritual or Blood in the River. And then you do have songs that are more purely spiritual, like Devil is Fine, like Burn the Fields. Then there are ones that are the absolute, like, electronic, weird ones, like the Sacrilegium Suite, that's comes in 3 parts throughout the album, which offers nice breaks and variation. And then you have the jazzy, bluesy ones that feels like you should be having a cigarette watching some guy play in, you know, some bar in Brooklyn or something, like What's a Killer Like You Going to Do Here? Overall, things on this album are just so very tightly wound and figured out. The composition, the songwriting, the lyric writing is all very tight, very cohesive. The artist knows what he wants to do here. And he wants to try and go a lot of different places and try a lot of different things, all under the same umbrella of thematic concept. And it really works well. And I respect a lot of his views and things on his music. He sees it as a project, not a band, and really would like to turn it into a live show. He says he has ideas, visions of hopefully turning it into a spectacle of awe and fear like you would see at a ghost show. I don't know if that's possible. I would love to see it because I feel like this music could truly come alive in that way, because the variation, the weirdness, and the beautiful tight execution is phenomenal and could benefit from being shown in this way. Also, if you look on his website, he even says, hey, my music is out there for a price, but if you're unable to afford it or you're just hard-pressed for cash but still want it, ask me. I'll send you a download code. Yes, I would like to be paid for my efforts, but I would care that you hear and experience and love and share my music rather than not be able to at all. And I respect the living shit out of that. I think this man does deserve money for his time and effort to create this, but I respect an artist of that nature who truly believes that it would rather be that people hear and enjoy the music over making a buck. Again, the album, the full album's on YouTube. I don't believe it's an official upload, so take that as you will. It's also on Bandcamp, which I'll provide a link for down there in the description. It's not at all expensive. You could listen to the whole thing before you choose if you want to buy it. I would highly recommend it, mainly just because it's so varied, so interesting, so different, and pulls from so many genres. Like I said, like black metal, a genre which is typically so self-absorbed in its elitism about being so tightly confined within its strictures of how it's the best and only black metal. You can only do this in black metal. You can't do this in black metal. If you do this in black metal, but you can't do this. This takes that and says, hey, fuck you, I'm going to take some elements and work it in with electronic and jazz and noise and do whatever the fuck I want with it and make it artistically and musically fantastic. Again, it's a short album. I highly recommend it if you're a fan of things that are experimental, if you like noise, if you like jazz, if you like spiritual, if you like folk, if you like electronic. There is something here for everyone. You're not going to be turned off by too much of any of the elements because overall they all come together equally to provide a very fun, very varied, and very fantastic listening experience that you're going to keep coming back to over and over. For me, this is high up there on being one of the most entertaining and enjoyable albums of the year thus far. I know I haven't been doing many music reviews this year, but just know this one is one to check out because it's fantastic. I hope you guys do. I highly recommend it. And until next time, my name is Kenshin, and I'm peacing the fuck out. Rock the fuck on. I fucked that up with my hands. But I don't give a damn!